I do not know why I'm speaking in this strange European accent. Yeah.
It's your proximity.
We are good. Yeah. We are good. Yeah. Yes.
We are good. Yeah. Aside from the fact that our featured guest this week is running a little late.
failed to join us. Yes. We have people joining us on the viewing count though. Hello there, everybody. Welcome on. We are back up to some kind of speed when it comes to the actual interwebs, because I'm back to where I would usually do the hangout from. I would like to apologize for not getting an audio version up of last week's show, because I was just the audio was all over. It was terrible. It did sound awful. So I'd like to apologize for that. If anyone, I mean, usually at this point, I would then say, please donate to our Patreon account and support the hangout. The only thing is, it doesn't matter, because there's no cable down my street. It doesn't matter which company comes in. I've just got crap internet. It really is as simple as that. So no, I'm at a place with good internet. Although I think I've got someone loitering outside. Hi, Paul. Do you want to quickly tell everyone? Yeah, do you want to tell everyone about your charity thing, or shall I do that next week?
I'll let you tell anybody as you wish, but I'll just try and get a few things sorted.
Fair enough. Okay. My brother is trying to raise money for cancer research by having someone hit him repeatedly in the face, and he's not letting me do it. It's not fair.
Because you don't have enough money.
I don't have enough money. Don't have the upper body strength either to make any to make any damage.
Batman, Superman, and that.
I think so, yeah. Whack, bang,
Yeah.
no movement.
Oh.
Okay.
Okay.
Thanks. Yeah. Anyway, my brother, everybody.
All right. Yeah. Next week.
Next week. Yes. Okay. Right. Yes, we'll very quickly talk about stuff and nonsense when it comes to the hangout. As always, thank you very much indeed for joining us. Thanks for talking about stuff this week, because we've had loads of stuff to talk about in terms of conventions that are coming up, conventions that are happening. We've got MCM London that's happening next week, which unfortunately I won't be able to make it, but I think Mark may be able to give us a bit of a review, fingers crossed, because Mark's going across, because that'd be cool. But next week, of course, yeah, we're going to be talking about these conventions that are happening and pre-registration that's happening at the same time. Oh, fantastic. So yeah, we're going to be getting into that. So yes, let's have a look at this. Time to move to the States. I'd love to move to the States, but unfortunately, you currently have. No, I was going to say something really, really mean and facetious. Then I'm not going to do it. That'd be no. I'll dial back. I'll dial back.
Be nice to me, us.
No, it wasn't to you. It was just no. Generally, right. I'm just having my thoughts. But no, we've got one or two people who are joining us on the chat room as always. Welcome along, Michael P. Time to gird your loins for the coming battle. Hey, Ian the Geek moved to the States pre-registration. OMG, OMG, OMG! I love it when Ian always goes a little fangirly. It's fantastic. Leanne D, no, you would not want to live there. I'd love to live in the States. I'll see you in about 3 years. How's that? Let's have a look. Yes, but anything you want to jump in on the chat room, of course, by all means. We are a minute away from getting started. I mean, it is 6 o'clock now. Next week, I've got to do some mental arithmetic and gymnastics to work out how the end of British summertime, it's absolutely freezing here, by the way, end of British summertime will affect the Hangout. I suspect because we are going to be talking about the big topic of pre-registration. I think what we're going to do is keep it to US time and change UK time. Well, but we'll sort something out. Hello, Sarita P. How are you? Welcome along. Oh, yeah, with 30 seconds to go. Very, very quickly. Very quickly. Last week on the Hangout Q&A, we had a troll. We had someone show up and was rather offensive and rather annoying. let me know if that or anybody else shows up again. This is at the end of the day, it's an all-inclusive session. Okay, so anybody that speaks to anyone with any kind of disrespect, I'm reminded of I can't remember what his position was. He was a general that worked at the Air Force Academy. I don't know if you saw this video. It went viral about a week and a half ago. It was absolutely brilliant. And basically he just turned around and said words to live by, which were, if you can't treat with anyone with kindness and respect, regardless of feelings, thoughts, attitudes, race, religion, whatever, gender, get out. And it's something I'm living my life by at the moment. It's, you know, it's an important message. So please let us know if anything like that shows up on the Q&A again. Okay, because that was not a pleasant moment. So
and
there we go.
I will interject here for 1 second and say, and that's what the forum was built on. Those ideas completely.
Pretty much. Same with the site. Same with the site and my Twitter. Admittedly, on my personal Twitter, I can get as objective as I like, but when it comes to Comic-Con, we're an all-inclusive group. That's the whole point. So there we go. So thank you very much indeed for joining us. We've got ourselves our viewing list growing up nicely. Do spread the word. Let everyone know that we are now live, and we are going to dive into quite a lot to talk about. I don't know if we are actually going to be joined by our special guest. We were speaking 2 days ago, and we were hoping that he was going to join us. Admittedly, we had arranged for Drew Geraci to join us on the show prior to the announcement of pre-registration. But we do want to spend some time talking to him. I'm hoping that he hasn't seen the thing that we're going to talk to him for 20-25 minutes and thinking, no, I want the whole show to be about me. Which, listen, I can understand that, but we do have to talk about events of next weekend and what's happening before the new year. But we'll get into that in a second. First things first, let's introduce officially introduce my partner in crime. We have Alyssa Franks from the Friends of Comic-Con Forum. Hello, Alyssa, how are you?
I am well. I got a bit of like, oh yes, please, please news this week. Somebody contacted me who is competent and knows about AWS servers. And yes, so now Alyssa's going to go geek for a while, but he's willing to help for the back end. So I am absolutely like, the sky is parted, rainbows, beams of sun, all of that sort of stuff. But the other stuff that's been happening on the forum has been, we're all about spring shows, ECC, I believe Saturday tickets are sold out. Silicon Valley Con, we haven't had the ticket sales yet. Their website is not updated. They're behind the times and everybody's estimation. We're checking regularly. San Diego Comic Fest does have their tickets up already. Yeah. And I believe they've got Bryn and Benford were the two special guests for science fiction that I was looking at. Maybe I got that wrong though. It was two of the B people. But Silicon Valley tickets are on sale if people are thinking about it, and no word on WonderCon yet.
Not yet, but from all accounts, that's imminent. So yeah, fingers crossed we're going to find out some more information about that in the near future as well. Fair few events happening here in the UK. I know that there's a smaller kind of, certainly literary kind of events that are taking place, which is great. So I understand there's some smaller events that are taking place in the US as well. As always, lots and lots of stuff that's happening worldwide. But it says a lot. I mean, I think Kerry from the Unofficial Blog put it best. It didn't matter when San Diego Comic-Con were going to announce their open online or returning registration. It didn't matter when it was going to happen. It was going to fall on a weekend of a convention. They didn't, yeah, but there's falling on a weekend of a convention and then falling on the weekend of MCM London and the event next weekend.
LA Comic, Stan Lee's Comic Fest.
Stan Lee's LA Comic, yeah. That's just, I mean, there was also a couple of conversations about the fact that could it possibly be malicious? I really don't think that's the case. I think it's a case of we've chosen that weekend, especially off the back of the last line or the last couple of lines of the announcement. It seems like they're fitting a lot of things in early, which is fantastic. So there we go. Right, so let's dive into this. Like I say, we were going to be talking to Drew Geraci. He may show up at some point, fingers crossed. We have sent him in the invite, and we'll go from there. Still do check out his stuff, because he's quite the guy, and he's got lots of things happening. Do head to drewgeraci.com and do keep an eye on what he gets up to. But
just to speak to Drew before we go on to the big news of the week. I'm sorry that he's not here. I'm, as people know, I'm a huge fan of black and white. I like line drawings, but Drew, in my research, Drew does a very nice study on inking, and he takes a very complicated piece, and I'll put a link up on his website, and breaks it down, and we get to see his inks from step to step to step. And it was very illuminating how it really just brings out the and defines it a lot better. So I am very sorry. Maybe we'll be able to get him on at a later date if it's an oversight on his part. Fingers crossed.
I know. I mean, fingers crossed. I mean, I've sent another invite to him. We never know. We may just have him joining us at some point. So fingers crossed on that. However, let's dive into our shopping list of stuff that we can talk about. We'll get into obviously next week's events in a second, but we have ourselves an update on the San Diego Comic-Con, or Comic-Con International versus Salt Lake Comic-Con trial. Now, this is something that we've been covering on the Hangout for a while. This is regarding the infringement of copyright, that CCI feel that they have a case of events taking precedence over the term Comic-Con, and that they are using the term to kind of imply partnership, or indeed just any kind of sort of like ownership to the term Comic-Con. Admittedly, we have also talked about the thing here on the show regarding the differential in that Comic-Con International use a hyphen to kind of determine that that's what their little sort of ownership is. So it's Comic-Con, whereas other events use Comic-Con, obviously Comic Convention. It's a shortening, and the case that Salt Lake are putting forward is that it's a generalized term, and it's any event can use it. Admittedly, I will turn around and say that if it doesn't have comics involved, or if it's just all about TV and pop culture, then nobody should use the term Comic-Con at all. But that's just a personal thing. So yeah, the jury trial is set for the 28th of November at 8:30 in the morning. I believe it's a San Diego trial.
Yes.
It's actually, yeah, it's taking place in San Diego. So one or two people are wondering if there's going to be some kind of preferential thing of that, or maybe even it could work to Comic-Con's detriment, because if you speak to a number of people in San Diego, they do sort of wonder about the this thing that does take over the town. But we'll see what happens. At the end of the day, it's the 28th of November. We've got just over a month to go when that does go to a jury trial, which at the end of the day is a big deal. It's something which involves the selling of a case. And I guarantee the lawyers at this point are sat in rooms and really hammering out their arguments for this particular event.
It also kind of brings an interesting light, interesting backdrop to returning Reg.
Indeed.
Happening before it. Trying to get that out of the way. There's been a little bit of just wondering about. Granted, the two ideas are very separate, but returning Reg does take up a lot of. I can imagine that returning Reg takes up a lot of CCI's time, as would pushing watching the trial too.
Well, this is interesting. Ian, the geek on the chat room, has turned around and said, "Oh, I should go down to the courtroom and live stream the court case. If it's an open court,
Yes,
I would be so down for that. I would be, ooh, yes, I would be up for that. I don't know what the restrictions are on that, but please, if you can, that'd be, oh wow.
Or just
yeah, okay.
audio, audio record it or sketch it or just,
okay. Yeah, take someone down who's really good with crayons. You'll be fine. That'd be great.
Somebody in the audience who's an artist or two.
Oh, wow. Yeah, no, that'd be cool. I mean, yeah, it'd be good to get some kind of live reference on that. That'd be something else. Yeah, I mean, Leanne saying, yeah, that would be great. Yeah, be something else. Cool. Okay. Yeah, we'll be paying close attention to that because it does have implications at the end of the day. If it goes Salt Lake Comic-Con's way, it could change how a lot of people and a lot of organizations market themselves. I guarantee Stan Lee's LA Comic-Con will come up in conversation because at the end of the day, there was a lot of cooperation between Comic-Con International and Stan Lee's event this year and this time round back in July. So at the end of the day, conversations were made about the ability for Stan Lee or the organization to use that term. Will come up in conversation as well. Okay, shall we just dive into this then?
Yes,
I think so. Okay, well, first things first, let me see if I can just pull up the initial announcement.
No,
because
with your prediction last week that said it won't be next weekend. That's where we need to start.
Is that right? Okay, fair enough. I mean, the words that are used at the moment at the bottom of the script that we have is mea culpa. Fine. Well, I mean, like I say, I mean, I was wondering if it was going to be part of that arrangement with Stan Lee's LA Comic-Con that they would just leave it alone. That it would. So obviously, that's just not the case. At the end of the day, the message went out. This was on, I believe it was on Tuesday or late Monday. It was one of the two, here in the UK at least anyway. And basically the announcement came from Comic-Con International. Don't get stuck in the upside down. Yes, it was all Stranger Things related. Or you'll miss Comic-Con 2018 returning registration. It's the usual setup in that it's going to be a 9 o'clock open for the actual badge sale with a 1 hour previous opening for the waiting room. Now, I have actually been speaking to one or two people today regarding the emails that have been going out, and a number of them have actually been landing in people's trash or in their spam folder. So if you haven't received your email, or if you are eligible for this and you haven't received it, do check that out. Wednesday in the US, so it'd be it'd be late Wednesday for here in the UK. So yeah, do check your spam folder to see if that didn't come through. Admittedly,
no, just go to your member ID. Log into your member ID. You got to make sure everything's straight ahead there, regardless. So log into your member ID and make sure that everything's good to go, because you want to make sure that you get that since it's pre-reg, you want to make sure that you get the pre-reg code sent to you and that you can get access to it. You may have to get reset your password, those kinds of things. So you want to just skip out email. And in my humble opinion,
yeah. Okay, I just suddenly realized in mentioning all of this, we didn't actually say it out loud. It's Saturday, the 28th of October at 9 a.m. Pacific. That's when the badge sale starts, with the waiting room opening at 8 a.m. Pacific Daylight Time. That's this Saturday coming. So there we go. The registration code and the link to the waiting room will be available at least 48 hours in advance. I'm going to just go quickly to Alyssa, because the last thing I want to do, I'm going to take the screen sharing off as well. I'm going to go into my member ID and just have a look. And the last thing I need to do is share my
username and password. Absolutely. And all that sort of personal information. No, it's security is important. I will say that badge groups, speaking of security, badge groups on the forum have closed. This is pretty traditional for what we do. Once we get a lot of last minute people coming on that we don't know, and so we just close things down once the announcement is made for that. That said, you know, if somebody comes along who's got a particular skill set, like the gentleman I spoke to earlier who does AWS and presents very well, he's a member of the 501st in San Diego, and his costume has been improved, and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And him and his wife, you know, just want to join a badge group and enjoy the benefits of going to con as a group. That's one thing. You know, we can make exceptions like that, but in general, people are going crazy, and you're probably going to see a lot of it happening on there.
I will say, I mean, I know that we've got a number of people here on the Hangout, which are our regular viewers. Welcome along. But if you are watching this on the replay, if you found this video via YouTube search, and if you aren't attending Comic-Con as a returning attendee, if it's the first time that you're going and you are looking forward to the Open Online, it's good to actually pay attention to this badge sale, because it does give you an idea of how the sale will progress. Admittedly, I don't see there's going to be much in terms of any kind of change from what we've had in the last year or so. I know that the unofficial blog will be doing their a live show while the sale is happening, but for the last couple of times they've done their live show, it's been a little bit of a boring watch, purely because nothing happens. It's been pretty smooth sailing for the last couple of years. There hasn't been. It's hotels where things get interesting. The actual badge sale itself, however, has been relatively trouble-free. We'll see how it goes, of course. By the looks of things, I mean, if I just go over to screen share from what the following day's announcement, which was a Q&A, the sort of frequently asked questions, post. This was saying about the most burning questions regarding the badge sale of the year. And yeah, it was basically covering all the stuff and nonsense we know already about when the registration code is going to arrive, when the link's going to arrive, how it happens when, I mean, when it's the badge, when it's going to be shipped. Admittedly, this does give us some time about when the badge is going to be shipped. If a friend buys a badge for you, it will be shipped to the shipping address on file as of May the 14th, 2018. So, yeah, after May, it's going to be as close to the event as possible on that one. So, there we go. What should I do if I forget to change my shipping address? Give them a call. Yeah. Go on. What?
People know this. We've all read it.
I know, but I'm doing this for first timers as well. Oh, good grief!
We'll get
we can't just be all sort of blasé about this. So there we go. Okay, so if we're going to stop that, then I think the question that a lot of people are asking, certainly asking me on Q&A, is how accessible and how feasible is attending the badge sale via mobile if you are attending a convention or if you're away from your computer, because at the end of the day you've got these two big events that are taking place. From all accounts, it's pretty solid. Certainly on mobile devices, on tablets, it's as solid as we have seen on anything else. At the end of the day, there's no preference to anyone that enters the waiting room. So if you are wanting to try and find yourself a quiet corner of Stanley's LA Comic-Con at that particular point, by all means. Andrew English, don't even bother trying mobile at MCM. That's down to their Wi-Fi. I understand that. But they've got 4G.
You want to have a stable connection.
Yeah.
That's what you absolutely need. Because it does automatically, once you're in the waiting room, it automatically refreshes. If I was trying to do it outside of home, I would go for some place that gave me 4 or 5 bars. I would stay in that spot. I wouldn't budge if I had to do it on my phone.
Yeah.
So
come off the convention center Wi-Fi. Go mobile data.
Yeah, do that, park yourself in a Starbucks. I don't know, something of that. If you have to go Wi-Fi or Dunkin' Donuts or, yeah, I'm showing where I'm from. Yeah, but stable is what you really need here. So.
Yeah. I mean, admittedly, like I say, the actual Wi-Fi, the actual connect. Once you're actually connected, however, you can do this on mobile. We're not looking. You don't have to do any rushing around like you had to 4 or 5 years ago. I mean, you've got the time to kind of do it, so it's not too problem. Andrew Dickinson, it's the first time CCI are running it themselves, isn't it? No, it's still Epic. It's an Epic Logic sale. So no, it's not. They haven't made that transition to doing what they did with the WonderCon badges and doing it all on their own servers. So no, it is still an Epic Logic. Is it? Have I got that right?
I believe so. The interesting thing
Expo Logic. Sorry, get it right.
Yeah, the interesting thing, in my opinion, is going to be whether or not they because the problems that they had last year and why it was so late, we speculate, is because they were trying to do the hotel and work and knit those two together seamlessly. So I'm wondering what sort of accommodations they've made through Expo Logic, or whether how they've done that. It may very well be that they said to Expo Logic, we just need this new field, one new form in the database, and that we can port over. I don't know. I don't know. It will be interesting to see how it works for it. I don't think we'll see this until we get to hotels.
Sure.
And how that's all going to play out. But that ostensibly was the rationale for the lateness last year. I think it says huge things that they're doing it so early this year. I mean, we're talking about notification in October. This is back to, this is like it was 3 or 4 years ago when pre-reg was in August.
Yeah.
Which is huge.
Well, I mean, we kind of teased this, or informed of this at the talkback this year, that they would be returning to what they consider a more traditional timetable, with one exception. And to be honest, I mean, myself and Alyssa were talking about this before we came out on air. If we go to the original announcement on Wednesday, it was very much like the old Apple terms and conditions. You get the first couple of paragraphs and you skim through the rest of it and you just go, oh, excitement, excitement. And you get the general headline and you go through and you kind of work your way through. Someone else pointed it out to me and someone else pointed out to Alyssa. She'll admit it.
I did. I will. Absolutely. I love my forum members. They are wonderful. Yay.
The final paragraph. If you are unable to purchase a badge during returning registration, you will be able to participate in open registration later this year. Yep, you heard that right. Open registration will occur sometime in late 2017. What? What? Wow. This is new. This is something else. So, I mean, I've had 1 or 2 people also turn around and say, what about our money for Christmas? Can we, what? you were always going to have someone or loads of people who, whenever they placed it, there was going to be some kind of comments of, oh, we haven't got this, why the timing for that? But at the end of the day, Yeah, it's going to happen before Christmas. Going to happen before New Year. So have some of those Christmas funds squirrel to one side if you are taking place in open registration. So yeah, that was the bombshell, I think.
It is. I mean, it says leaps and bounds about where CCI is. We'll get into that in a moment. But the impact, I think, on people. I mean, Andrew English says Christmas is canceled. Yeah, falls off chair. Did we surprise you with something there, Andrew? Just wondering.
I think the point that Leanne makes is very relevant. It's also relevant for her, certainly relevant for us here in the UK. It was mentioned by Gary last weekend when we were talking about badge groups. I'm so glad it will be this year. It makes flights cheaper. Yes. The ability to start organizing accommodation if you aren't wanting to take part in the hotel sale, if you want to do a condo or something, or if just organizing yourself and being able to do that 7 months in advance. It's, look at the smile on my face. I'm more than happy. This is just brilliant. I
think all of the hyper planners are happy. I think the people who are not hyper planners and like to wait till later on are not as happy. I do have one other bit of information I'm trying to find out. Southwest is going to be doing their flights coming up in the next couple of weeks. So in theory, we'll be able to buy our badges, and if you're in the States, fly Southwest and book your tickets and be done until hotel sales before the middle part of November.
Well, yeah. Wow. Okay. Yeah, well, it's something else.
And flights, from the UK is for a lot of us, Southwest, because it has the generous 2-bag policy. It is huge for a lot of us that come from around. So
cool, excellent stuff. So yeah, it's all exciting. No, it's all exciting stuff. It's very, very cool indeed. Karen's session, Southwest is not all that cheap. Okay, as someone who hasn't flown Southwest, I couldn't tell you. I think I've flown in the past United, American Airlines. I've flown, but okay. I suppose Karen, by all means, do let us know your experience on that one. So yeah, exciting stuff. I suspect from the people that I'm seeing on our viewing list, it is returning registration for the vast majority. However, for someone like myself, and I think also for Alyssa as well, we still have one or two things we have to tick some boxes of, and that's press notifications. The question has happened whether it's going to be, we're going to find out about press registration before open reg. There's all sorts of timing that's to go ahead.
It would make a lot of sense if they were to put to notify most of the press people who've already applied before open reg. I mean, because if somebody is returning, as a press person that had,
they have to take part in the open registration.
They have to participate in open reg. Since they're not eligible for pre-reg, so they need to, if they were to hear before open reg, that would make their lives a lot simpler and make the press office at CCI's life a lot simpler because they wouldn't have to cancel bought badges. So I'm in hope that we'll actually hear from the press people will hear. So did they say 6 to 8 weeks from submission? Was that the date, Leonard?
Indeed. Okay. 6 to 8 weeks. I mean, the timing sounds about right. Certainly if anyone did get their application in sooner rather than later. So yeah, like I say, the timing seems about right. So people should find out, and everything seems to be slotting together rather neatly, which is rather cool. Andrew Dickinson, however, has very nearly jinxed it for everybody.
Oh,
what happens? What happens? No, I'm going to say it out loud. Deal with it. What happens if hotels is before Christmas as well? That would mean a lot of people involved in Comic-Con or going to Comic-Con would be sending out IOU cards as Christmas presents.
totally.
There's all the money gone.
They can't do hotels in January. They've got to wait until at least January or maybe February before they do hotels. I found out the date for Southwest, and that is November 2nd. So with the sale on the 28th, and then 4 days later, the sale on Southwest. I hear what you were saying about the. I know I'm back to Southwest. What can I say? That it's not that cheap, but a lot of people belong to the Southwest frequent flyer program. I'm doing a spring trip, and I'm going to be flying out. It's because it ends up being $100 for me to fly out because I have so many points accumulated through it. So a lot of people build that into their credit card and their summer plans, and they end up using the Southwest. So yeah, here's hoping that all of the press people here before Open Reg happens. That would be great.
Yeah. The reason why we do keep going back to press, and I know it's very a little inside baseball, and I know it certainly doesn't apply or is of much interest to many people who watch generally, but it does. CCI are organizing themselves, so that's the reason why we do keep referring to it. At the end of the day, it's the way that the pieces of the puzzle are coming together, and one part of the organization is talking to each other. So that's the reason why we do refer to it. So just wanted to clear that up. Right, I know that you've put something in the script regarding what this actually means for CCI's changing organization, and with the advent of the Padres day a few months ago. What are you implying by that?
Well, it seems like Comic-Con is moving, CCI International is moving from being a comic convention focused thing and bringing it more into the community and expanding the outreach.
Being more inclusive. Yeah.
Well, more inclusive, but also reaching out to people, via the Padres Day, which I thought was really interesting. That wonderful picture of David Glanzer throwing out the pitch at the game. And
why that wasn't his new profile picture, I just have no idea.
I know. I mean, that's amazing. that was an amazing picture. Well, at some point we'll bring that up somewhere. But also with the advent of and bringing into the forefront what happened with the museum, the announcement of a new chief operating officer.
Yeah, that was the other big piece of news that came out this week, and this actually dropped. Well, this dropped prior to. I thought this was going to be the big thing we were going to talk about this week, before the returning registration got announced. Yes, this is CCI that have hired Adam Smith as executive director for Balboa Park Center of Pop Culture. Now, I actually went up to the Balboa Park in my week after Comic-Con this July. Had a wander around and had a look at the building. It does need a lot of work doing to it. At the end of the day, it has been abandoned. It was formerly the Hall of Champions up there at Balboa Park, but they have got somebody on board that is really very experienced about this. Although, very strangely enough, it seems like a total diversion to what he's done in the past. He's been the curator of the Museum of Flight in Scotland before moving over to the US, taking over as the museum director for EAA, the Experimental Aircraft Association, and then senior VP at the Center to Advance the Pilot Community, before taking on his role as Executive VP of Commemorative Air Force. So it's all flight stuff. It's all, he's a flight guy. He's a pilot. And then he's decided that he's going to take on the running of the Center of Popular Culture for Comic-Con International. Okay, that's one of those things where you kind of spot an application, or an application is sent to you by a mate going, hey, have you thought about doing this? And then thinking, I'm going to have a change of direction. So there we go. I did quite like his announcement, however. I'm excited that my lifelong passion for pop culture, science fiction and comics, yes, because it's really reflected in your CV, mate, combined with my experience in museum management, will blend effortlessly in our efforts to get this new facility off the ground. Ha ha ha! See what you did there. So no, it's exciting stuff. I mean, at the end of the day, the guy is incredibly qualified for the job. But like I say, I went past the Hall of Champions. It needs a lot of work doing to the actual building, but it is an impressive setup. It's 70,000 square foot. What I was also interested about was also the talking about what it's actually going to discuss, because it's going to be not only as an expansion to the Comic-Con exhibit that featured at the San Diego Library, but also as, and I quote, a new cultural attraction which will explore the appreciation of comic book and popular arts, films, and science fiction fantasy literature through exhibitions, performances, educational programs, and outreach efforts. That's a broad stroke, man.
Yes.
That's a big umbrella for this building to take on. So
that's it reminds me of how people talk about an art museum, or a museum of other types of things. It's bringing the modern, you know, this art form that we all love into the mainstream. Like Andy Warhol's, you know, the 60s, the crazy 60s pop art stuff that was going on there has now become part of our culture, and this is becoming part of our culture too. I think it's a brilliant stroke to get this guy, Scott, I believe was his name,
it's Adam Smith.
Adam Smith, another Adam Smith. He's also a financial guy, I think. But I think that was a brilliant stroke. And it also says, and it's just this odd, quirky little thing, you know, how many of us nerds and geeks and sci-fi fanatics are out there? So somebody like this, who does airplanes and, you know, is in museum management, is also a sci-fi geek. That's very cool. You know, that's just like, yes. You know, we need to celebrate more people like you. I hope there's a bio that's featured in, you know, in there.
Oh, well, I mean, the closest I've got to, well, I mean, the bio, as best I found it, is on An Englishman in San Diego. It's on the post, which I'm certain that Alyssa can come up with the link, or I can sort of like share the link and go from that. But what the other thing I'm curious about, and I'm going to try and pull it up quickly while we're talking, is how far away the actual center is going to be from downtown. At the end of the day, it's Balboa Park. It's a bit of a trek. I mean, the great thing about the San Diego Library.
Yeah, it may not be something that's directly usable as during San Diego Comic-Con, but if you're looking at it from a museum perspective, Balboa Park, I had an opportunity to spend some time there. I went and saw Shakespeare in the Park show, play with one of the actors from House in it. Mel and I and her wife went to dinner at a really nice restaurant right in the center of the park. It's it really is a celebration. It seems like a lot of people, and people who live in San Diego can correct me, but it really seems like it's a place that people go for a Saturday and enjoy. I know that the Pride Parade took place there and is a big event that happens. I think it happened the weekend before San Diego Comic-Con last year. So it makes sense that it's there. It may not be usable very much for San Diego, but if you're there beforehand and if you're there afterwards, I guarantee that it will get a lot of traffic.
Yeah. I mean, I'm showing a map on screen now, and it does give you a sense of the kind of distance. It's as Andrew English is saying, it's about 3 miles from the convention center, which is about right, but it's definitely a trolley ride. It's a way to get up to there. To be fair, I'm not going to lie. If you can get up there, it's gorgeous. It's well worth visiting. You know, and it's a great place. And not only that, but you're only a stone's throw away from San Diego Zoo as well, and all the other museums that are up there. So I can imagine if you're heading to San Diego to Comic-Con, and this is, of course, hoping that the whole thing is going to be open for next year's event. If you are going to San Diego Comic-Con this year and you are staying either the week before or the week after, or even just a couple of days, that Monday, Tuesday, prior to the actual event taking off, I think it might be very much worthwhile heading up there. I think it's going to be something else. Andrew Dickinson's putting up something. The open air theater might get used during Comic-Con as well. Yeah, like I say, there's some amazing layouts up at Balboa, and I think with this, it could also open up, like you say, all the other little things that are up there, which could be very much of use to Comic-Con fans. So, no, cool. No, I think it's a great idea. I think it's a fantastic concept for a museum. I'm just hoping that it's not too far out of the beaten track. So, fingers crossed. Right. Anything else that we want to talk about on our list? Because you've also got something here about Psycho.
I've been kind of, I catch, you know, I try and keep current on some things that are not specifically geek related. I ran across a couple of reviews of a new documentary out there on Alfred Hitchcock's Psycho, and most of the people, they seem to refer to it as it's the film geek's guide to Psycho, and it's amazing from what they've been saying. People like Variety has been giving it high praise. So if you're ever, you know, interested in breaking down Psycho and frame by frame, you know, with just a kind of an understanding of how influential that Hitchcock film was in the 60s. The new documentary called 7852 just opened, and it apparently is like, it's the definitive guide, and highly recommended. I'm going to put a link up for the Variety review of it, so people can get an idea about what it is I'm talking about here. So that's just kind of, you know, one of those odd little things if you are really like heavy film geek.
Well, that's where I'm going to throw in my 5 penneth with another thing that is out there at the moment. Here in the UK, you may have to sail the treacherous seas to find it, but I think in the US it's a little bit more available. This was from HBO Documentaries. If you've not seen Spielberg yet, that is an incredible piece of work. A great celebration of truly one of this and any generation's master filmmakers. Yes, you can dump on a number of his more recent stuff, by all means. The BFG wasn't fantastic, but then you do have Bridge of Spies. Then you still have a filmmaker that at his age is still willing to experiment and really kind of push the boat out. And no, if you get the chance to see Spielberg, I'd highly recommend that as well.
just so people know, Mark, it gets 7852 gets Mark Serby's thumbs up approval. He says, "quote unquote," fascinating. So, you know, I respect, and I highly respect Mark's opinion.
Well, I'm trying to ignore Mark at the moment because I think he's been to see Thor Ragnarok. So I'm ignoring him at the moment and staying as far away from him as possible.
And he goes on to say you don't need to have seen Psycho to enjoy the documentary. So.
It sounds very much like there was a documentary about the making of The Shining, which I suspect is very similar to that. You didn't need to see The Shining to appreciate to that as well. So no, cool. Okay. In terms of week of TV, I think the only things that I can really point out is that I believe we're on episode 5 of The Inhumans, and it hasn't gotten any better by all accounts. Listen, I'm going by what I've been reading. From what I've been told, I mean, I think my favorite was from Den of Geek in the US, which is by the time they'd gotten to episode 5, they're saying, okay, we're actually thinking that we're being pranked. That's not good. I'm actually going to do a full binge of the 3 episodes that I've missed. I saw the first 2 in IMAX. I was not impressed at all. And from what I've been told, it has not improved. But yeah, they've got that. Is it next weekend we've got Stranger Things 2 coming out? Which I believe
I'll start with the week. I'll start at the top.
Oh, go on then. Okay, off you go. Knock yourself out.
Tonight we have a big event called the return of season 8 for The Walking Dead. Before we get to the end of the week's activity, we saw the final Fear of the Walking Dead last week, and this week we get The Walking Dead return. So we get to see all of that. That's, you know, in addition to the football things that are happening today too. We also get Talking Dead and Comic Book Man are returning this evening. Well,
I was going to very quickly ask about that then. I thought there's been already an episode of Talking Dead as kind of like a ramp up for season 8. Has that happened already?
I know that they were doing post shows after Fear the Walking Dead, and to be honest with you, I am massively behind on my TV watching, so I haven't even seen the end of Fear yet.
Yes, yeah. There's been a preview special with Jeffrey Dean Morgan, Lenny James, and Scott M. Gimple, so that should be available on your various outlets at the moment. So if you want to just watch that like now before the season starts tonight.
Yeah, I'm just reading everybody's comments. Michael P., The Walking Dead is really bad. Yes, I'm going to say that out loud.
Well, I mean, isn't there going to be a crossover at some point imminent
between The Expanse and Walking Dead?
Walking Dead.
Oh, no. Okay, his mind just exploded. Sorry, Mike. Anyway, let's see. So we also get the Comic Book Man tonight. There's also going to be a 75-minute episode of Outlander is going to be happening on Stars this week too. The second season, and here, wait for it, the second season of Stranger Things is indeed dropping next Friday.
Get in. Come on. I mean, I'm sorry, but I'm not a Walking Dead. That's the show I'm looking forward to.
Absolutely. Brilliant. You know, I'm behind in everything. We also get Blind Spot comes back. Just a word of warning, in the States, there's going to be a bunch of football, baseball talk, since it is the World Series. It's not going to be a coastal series. I guess the Houston Astros, I think they clinched it last night.
Yes, they did.
Huge baseball fan.
They shut down the Yankees in Game 7 in the advancing to the World Series.
Channel Zero ends its season tonight, or not tonight, on the 25th. And so this week we'll get to see that. We did see, and I have not watched it yet, we did see the return of, God, I'm already behind. Good Behavior. That did come back, and that's on the top of my list of shows to watch. A second season of Good Behavior began. That got a lot of buzz last year, and I'm very interested to see what their sophomore season is going to be about. Just like you are with Stranger Things, because it something happens to shows when they do a sophomore year. Because they're not really sure how they're going to be received in the freshman year, and they kind of take risks, and then they're received well, and then the stories aren't quite as fresh, or they stop taking the risks. So I'm very curious to see how this affects Stranger Things also.
Okay. Yeah. Kendall Whitehouse is watching. Hello, Kendall. Big fan of his work, and he's actually pointed out something that I don't know if I'd missed in your previous Week in TVs, that Mr. Robot season 3 is underway, 2 episodes in. So that's up and running.
Yeah. Michael, I had a long conversation with Michael P. And his reviews are very, that it's been very well received. It's a very deep show, and we got to see it at New York Comic-Con. The first episode, they showed it at the party that they had. And since I'm not up to speed on season 2, I didn't want to watch season 3.
Likewise.
So yes, recurring theme. Michael P. Mr. Robot is off the hook. Punisher, Andrew Dickinson, Punisher versus Justice League.
Yes, that's something that came up in at conversation this week, and that people were feeling that Marvel were kind of giving a little bit of a jab by launching Punisher versus Justice League, which then had loads of people doing polls about Marvel versus DC, Punisher versus Justice League, at which point I just went, you can watch Punisher whenever you like, you can watch a couple of episodes, then you can go out and watch Justice League, watch the rest. Why? It's not a big thing. Come on. As somebody who survived the Commodore versus Spectrum versus Amiga wars of 1984, DC is not a thing. Sorry, but there we go. As for that particular SmackDown, I think everyone's going to go see Justice League and then stream Punisher when they get home. So, yeah.
Absolutely. I mean, yeah, Jason Momoa, of course.
Oh, well, there is that, of course. Yeah. Let's not be stupid here. Yeah. I mean, admittedly, I'm interested in what they're going to do with Punisher, but it's very much like the comics. It's something you either get or you don't, in terms of a character. And at the end of the day, it's a character. It's like if you're a film fan and if you want to watch Death Wish, at the end of the day, it's a film of taste. It's whether you actually want to be taking things off. Mark Serby, it's no Blur versus Oasis. Okay. Oasis split up and Blur still going. So Blur won. Deal with it. Andrew Dickinson. Mike, the whole thing might keep things off though. Who knows? So there we go. Right, so there you go. That's the ripping up of the script. I think we're kind of done then. Yeah. So yes, thank you very much indeed to everyone for watching. If there's any thoughts and opinions, and if you are intending to live stream your thoughts on The Walking Dead, if you could let me know so I can mute your feed, that'd be fantastic. Thank you so much indeed, and I'm certain other people will be appreciative of that as well. So thank you very much indeed for joining us today. We are going to try and reschedule for Drew Geraci to join us because, like Alyssa says, I think he's going to be an interesting guy to talk to. So it'd be great to get him on. Hopefully, it's just been a slip of
the memory.
Yeah.
You know, with that, I'd love to just get his feedback. I mean, you could see that the two pieces in back, the Silver Surfer and the color, and I'm trying to get. This is the opposite thing going on there. So, you know, I would love to get his, just what it takes to decipher some of these things. I posted the link earlier on the live chat about that illustration that he did and bringing it to into color. And that was amazing to me. It was a real eye-opener for me, actually. So I would love to see Drew come in too. And yes, I will be watching Walking Dead live because I like The Walking Dead. So there, Mike.
I have no problem with that. If you like The Walking Dead, that's entirely your call. So there we go. Right, and for myself, I just want to say to Alyssa, next week we are going to be talking about Returning Reg. We're going to talk about the fallout. We're going to talk about how it all happened, how it all worked, and of course, I will be live tweeting and keeping people up to date with what's going on in terms of how the sales happened, the speed of the badge sale, and that kind of thing, and if it all goes horribly wrong. So yeah, do follow Englishman SDCC next Saturday.
Are we planning on doing anything with from LA Comic-Con?
From LA Comic-Con, fingers crossed. We've got somebody hopefully who's going to be attending. We'll let you know about that. And also we may have a live report from MCM as well. Fingers crossed. It'll be at the end of the day, and total pitch darkness. But we'll hopefully have something from a report about MCM as well. Fingers crossed.
So it stands to reason it may be a long one next week.
Could be a long one, but we'll see what happens. We'll try and keep it nice and tight. So there we go. Where can people find you online, Alyssa?
At Friends of CCI is my Twitter handle, and people can always find me and everything that we write about on the forum and on the blog at my website, which is friendsofcc.com.
Excellent. And for myself, you can find me at Englishman SDCC on all of the social medias. And of course, you can keep an eye on what we get up to on the site at anenglishmaninsandiego.com. If there's any way that you can support the Hangout and of course the website, please head to patreon.com/EnglishmanSDCC. So next week, it's going to be returning registration. From us to you, if you are taking part in the sale, all the very best to you. May I just... Be the Cheerio. May I share this with you because I think it's only fair that this is not triggering you at all. I think it would only be mean for me to suggest that this is me triggering you. But hopefully this blue circle. Oh good God, Alyssa is going in full spasmodic mode. Oh dear. All the very best to you. Fingers crossed, and let's also hope that the open online happens sooner rather than later. Let's do this, man. Let's do it. Do take care. Enjoy the rest of your week, and all the very best for next Saturday. Bye bye, everybody.